So I knew a little bit of controversy.
Yeah.
Around 2003, obviously you've got your gym in California still, and Gerald Strebendt and Rafiel Torre end up in what later culminates into a murder for hire, of which Rafiel Torre completes the act. Do you remember like either of those two working out in your gym?
Oh yeah, Gerald was a student of mine until he moved to LA to train with Eddie. I think.
What about Rafiel Torre?
Rafiel came and trained at my grand opening at my gym one time, and I rolled with him in front of everybody. And he wasn't good, and he had claimed to be a black belt. His dad was Brazilian. His name ended up Ralph Torres, wasn't Rafiel Torre. And that was the only time I trained with him. I knew him through Gerald, the announcer at Cage, and he tried to affiliate himself with me. He tried to tell people that he was affiliated with me, and he was not. And so we had that conversation. But the whole thing that came about between those two, that's a crazy, crazy story. Crazy.
They're related. Am I correct?
They are.
Okay.
Cousins. Uncle or cousin.
So, what do you recall about the Torre situation with the affair and things of that nature? Do you remember any of that?
Oh, very well.
Let me see if I can give you one thing about Rafiel I'd like to know. It's like guys like yourself. Like once you're on the mat, how am I going to fool you? You know what I mean? It's like I'm not fooling Chris Lytle if I get on the mat with him. It's going to be about 3 seconds. How did this guy retain credibility?
He didn't train. He didn't train with very many people.
Did he ask you to keep it quiet? Like don't tell people I suck. Like it literally like that.
Before we rolled, like there was a lot of people there. It was a grand opening of my gym. There was a lot of people there. All the guys from Millennia were there. You know, and we're in the cage, and he goes, hey, just go easy, just go easy. And I was like, what do you mean? Let's just roll. And he goes, okay. He goes, but I'll just go easy. So I was like, all right. And yeah.
Thank God he went easy on you.
He might have been a blue belt. But yeah, he wasn't very skilled at all.
So what do you recall about the relationship that he had that obviously kind of wound him up in prison?
So I want to say he owed Gerald $7,000, and I don't remember why, but he owed Gerald $7,000. That's where it all started. Me and Gerald leave to Big Bear to go get ready for whoever my fight was around that time, because the murder happened while we were in Big Bear getting ready for my fight. So it had to happen within 2 weeks before the time I fought. So we're in Big Bear, and we're sitting down to eat dinner, and Gerald didn't have a phone, and my phone rings, and it's Rafiel. He asks for Gerald, so I gave it to Gerald. And sorry, let's back up. A week before that, before we left, Rafiel offers Gerald $10,000 to kill this guy who has $1 million life insurance policy because he's hooking up with this guy's wife. And Gerald tells me that. He tells me that, and I was like, because Gerald was a sniper in the Marine Corps. And he offered him that, and Gerald's like, no, hell no, no. So like, okay. So that's out of mind. We go to Big Bear, and he calls, gets Gerald on the phone, and Gerald goes, what? And he goes, hold on. And he puts the phone to my ear, and Rafiel says, man, you wouldn't believe it. They just found the dude dead, in his car. And I was like, and he took the phone back. That's literally all he said. He finishes the conversation with Gerald, and Gerald's like, bro, he had to have killed him. He He goes, they didn't just find him dead in his car. And so we finish my camp, do the fight, come back. Gerald goes and sees him, finds out that he did kill him. And he gets away with it. It's a couple years, maybe 3, but at least 2 years go by. And I could be wrong on the time, but I believe it's at least that long. But he gets away with it. And Gerald hits up Rafiel and says, hey, I want my $7,000. And he says, I don't have it. He goes, if you don't pay me by the end of the week, I'm going to tell on you. I'm going to turn you in. I mean, at that point, dude, I robbed the bank to get the $7,000, but he didn't give him the $7,000. And Gerald tells on him. So sure enough, he gets arrested. He had driven around for 2 days with the guy in the car after he killed him. He talked him into training with him, and then he choked him until he was dead. And then, yeah, and then drove around with him in his car for a couple of days, and then left. So
since he wasn't technically very good, it took him 35 minutes to kill the guy with a choke.
Did it really?
It's a bad joke. It's a bad joke.
But did it? Is that
no,
true?
no, I'm just kidding.
Oh, God. Anyway, so the guy's dead.
I'm sorry.
He gets away with it. I'm mind blown. He's a piece of shit. You know, whatever.
So was he back at your gym after this or no?
No, Gerald was, yes. Rafael, no. He only come to my gym once or twice.
So all the time you said that it was 2 years and that he was like literally free. That was the time where he was like on his rise as an MMA journalist, reporter kind of thing, and working for the Abu Dhabi Combat Club and
Correct.
that sort of stuff.
Correct.
Okay. Fascinating. How'd you feel? Yeah. Like, again, he competed in Abu Dhabi 98.
Rafael did?
Yes. In the first Abu Dhabi tournament, he actually competed over there.
Did he win?
Ridiculous as that sounds. No, he got trounced the first round. But I mean, they had a few ham and eggers the first year, but
yeah,
but he got in. So I mean, that's stunning to me.
Yeah. So obviously, I'm not going to say anything. If you kill somebody, I'm going to help.
Oh, you don't even know,
right? Like, yeah. I mean, I don't know if he did or didn't, but Gerald's pretty sure he did. You know, but I'm like, yeah. So then Gerald turns him in. He gets arrested. He goes to jail. Well, I end up getting called because it was said on my phone, and it was said to me once. Gerald told them that just so he would have another witness. Well, court finally comes around, and me and Eddie and Joe Rogan sit in a room for days waiting for our time to go on the stand, and we got subpoenaed to be on the stand and have to testify.
Why would they get subpoenaed?
Gerald was friends with them, so he had to have said that. He had to have told them as well. So all three of us sat in a room waiting to get put on the stand. It was a hilarious room, like for days at a time. We're in there for hours, and it was funny. But they finally called me to the stand, man, and I'm like, yes. He called and said, you wouldn't believe it, but they found the guy dead. And they said, you heard that? And I said, yes. And they said, what else did you hear? I'm like, that's all I heard. And they said, and then what did Gerald tell you? I was like, Gerald said he killed him. Gerald said that Rafael killed him, but I don't know that he did. And I don't know that Gerald knows that he did. Only Rafael, Gerald said that Rafael told him he did.
Yeah.
So he ends up getting convicted, gets life or whatever in prison, and goes away. Years later, Gerald gets in a car accident and gets out of the car, gets an altercation, shoots and kills the guy. Okay, Gerald can talk his way out of anything. He gets arrested, goes to jail.
Hold on. You gotta hit mute, Chris.
It's not me.
Okay,
no.
It's me.
Oh,
go ahead.
He gets arrested, goes to jail, serves a few years, and has a retrial, has something happen, and ends up getting released from jail. Has his attorney or whatever the case was. I don't know what the facts were, but he ends up getting released from jail. Short time after he gets released from jail, he opens a gym, or he's at a gym teaching, and supposedly smacked a girl on the butt or something that was a minor. He's back in jail. And I don't know the details. I believe I spoke to him once right after the Rampage, or right after the Antonio McKee said he was going to kill me podcast, and had a conversation with him for a second. And that was the first time I talked to him in 15 years. And he said he didn't do it, and that's why he's back out again. So he got released again after getting convicted. And
got it reversed.
Now he's out doing his thing. So I don't know what the facts are about either of those cases. I believe he had said that the guy in the car accident reached into Gerald's car to get Gerald's gun, and then Gerald took his gun and shot him. So I don't know how it all played out. I hadn't talked to him in years and years before that.
Yeah, he called after the guy that hooked us up, Brian Garrity.
Right.
And in essence, first and foremost, man, police overreach is horrible. It is. I mean, it's just undercharging is just as bad as overcharging. Like, we've got people that have shot other people on the street here in Chicago on house arrest. Like, both of them are bad. And the way Gerald broke it down to me, and I don't know, I didn't read any court papers. He's not sent me anything. It sounded from his side, his point of view, that it was an overreach, and for it to get overturned by the state's Supreme Court, that costs a shitload of money. That guy, like you said, he can talk his way out of a lot of situations.
Yeah.
To be freed from prison due to an overruling by the Supreme Court, he's got two options: go in, head in, and fight it, or wait for the statute of limitations to come up, and if he'd be to let the statute of limitations kind of expire before he pursues it. But it's a shame. Either way, it's a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not easy.
You know how much of a small world it is? Rafiel Torre lost to Bo Hirschberger in Abu Dhabi, Chris.
Oh, really?
I think Chris's first official MMA
Chris
fight
Lytle's.
Lytle's was Bo Hirschberger.
Yeah, that's not my first fight, but that was the first one on record now. Yeah.
Why were you guys in the same weight class? Those are
We
big
weren't.
boys.
He's a lot bigger than me. It was
yeah.
back in 1999, and there was no real rules back then. For some reason, there was a neutral ground fight in Muncie, Indiana. I don't know how it happened. So I remember Jason Gatsby got a hold of me. He goes, "You're fighting a guy named Bo Hirschberger. He beat Olag in Abu Dhabi. You'll beat him." I was like, "All right, I trusted Jason, so I beat him too. So it worked out. I don't know."
Oh, nice.
So Chris Brennan, when Rafiel Torre is jumping from social scene to social scene, because like that guy, in essence, like whatever cool crowd in MMA or jiu-jitsu there was, he was kind of ushered in as one of the guys. Did you ever did it ever surprise you to kind of see how accepted he was by legitimate people within the industry?
I mean, it was funny. We laughed a lot at my gym about it because the guy was like illegitimate at everything. And he had everyone convinced. He had everyone convinced that he was the guy. And it was hilarious. There are a lot of people like that, man. There are a lot of people like that.
Well, on your social media, okay, on our podcast, some of the things that I've read on your social media are kind of echoed here, because like right around this time, the most hilarious thing that you could run into was an American person that maybe has got 2 months of jiu-jitsu practice, and all of a sudden they're having trouble with the English language because, jiu-jitsu has just warped their mind so much that, they think that they're from Brazil. And, Rafiel Torre kind of like took this to almost an extreme that many people just couldn't fathom.
We said he was from Brazil, but he wasn't. He told everyone he was from Brazil.
It's like Puerto Rican or something, right?
Yeah, I don't even know. His name was Ralph Torres.
Chris, thank you very much. And I shouldn't even open my mouth, but his name is actually Miguel Rafael Torres or whatever it is.
Is it?
It's Miguel is his real first name. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
I wouldn't have claimed
he changed his name once he went to prison. After he got convicted and went to jail, he changed his name because that's what's important. He needs to be Rafiel Torre.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Big Bear. You're up there with Gerald Strebendt.
Check out the full interview on iTunes, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms.